All right, I'm going to call to order the City of Menasha Board of Public Works. Clerk Aliazi, could you please take roll call?
Alderman Langdon.
Here.
Alderman Kruger.
Here.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Here.
Alderman Ted Grady.
Here.
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Nichols. Alderman Taylor. Alderman Severnick.
First up on the agenda is the minutes to approve for October 7th, 2019. Alderman Langdon,
Thank you, Chair. I make the motion to approve the minutes from the October 7th, 2019 Board of Public Works.
we have a motion and a second by Alderman Ted Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to discussion and action items. First is the payment for Northeast Asphalt Incorporated. Director Alex.
What this is would be payment number 2 of our contract 2019-03, which was like Melissa, Greenwood, Lawndale Grove, Woodland Place, and most recently Broad Street, Frederick, and the library parking lot. For the most part, this contract is probably 99% complete. There's a little bit of backfilling that needs to be done. Other than that, that's what this payment is for.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Alderman Langdon.
Thank you, Chair. I make the motion to forward to council for the payment to Northeast Asphalt Inc., contract unit number 2019-03 for street reconstruction, and that's for the various locations in the amount of $124,605.81, payment number 2.
We have a motion and a second by Alderman Tom Grady. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, can we take roll?
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Moving on to discussion action item number 2 is the Main Street and Racine Street roundabout. This has to do with landscaping and will not deviate from the subject. So Director Alex.
As you can see here, this is a concept design for the roundabout on Racine and Main. The DOT is looking for some sort of final design by us by November 8th. So we took a look at this, and keep in mind with what you see here, the city intends to do the trees ourselves, do the plantings ourselves. So it's somewhat of a basic design here, and what we'd like to do is try and get some feedback from you folks here as to what you see here. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What else are you guys interested in? It's a little deceiving if you look at those terrace areas. They're actually 5.5 feet wide. So if you look on the north end, you can see where we have daylilies. Obviously, we want to carry through our daylilies. But on the east side, there's daylilies and there's some feather reed grass, which is shown in the upper left-hand corner. It's not to say that this is what we have to do, but this is a concept, a plan that we can kind of work off of and come up with something that is, our entryway into our downtown. Just a couple comments. If you look at the green space on the east side there, what you do not see is the elevation grade change. It is rather steep from the sidewalk to the east lot line on the river's edge, and then it gradually flattens out the further north you go. We had kind of entertained the idea of some sort of maybe rotten granite path through there, but it might not be as usable as it would appear here on a piece of paper. Likewise, on the green space on the sort of the southwest side, for structural reasons, the retaining wall is at the river's edge there, so that would be a usable green space, but it's going to be elevated. And it does not take into account or any consideration of the existing lookout that's there right now, so it may blend right into that. So, comments?
Alderman Stefanik.
Do we have to have a roundabout? No, I just teasing Alderman Kruger.
I'll second that.
Sorry I deviated. No, I'm looking at this and, you know, like you said, it's kind of plain. Okay. If you're familiar with other roundabouts that are in town and stuff, in other towns or cities or villages, there's a little more to them sometimes. This is the entryway basically to the downtown. Is there something we could do with a stone wall that says downtown Menasha or?
Sort of in the center of that roundabout, maybe?
Yeah, something just a little more aesthetically pleasing than maybe some tall grasses and, I definitely do not want the two-faced man there in the, that was over by the Bryn. We don't want him there. But, you know, something different. I mean, this is gonna last the next 50, 60 years, right? So why not do it right?
And again, that's kind of why we left it very plain and generic inside that roundabout. So it's something that we can control and that's not related to the DOT project, so.
Okay, but they wouldn't have any objections to us doing something like that? Because I've been told that in the past, and that's not true. You go to all these different cities, Neenah had it. You know, Oshkosh has got them on theirs, welcome to Oshkosh and all that. And
Yeah, the only thing
this is
that
more in our community, so.
the only thing that I have heard as far as a vertical element for,
Okay.
traffic lights and view. So other than that, I'm not aware of that being an issue. That is something that I had, kind of had thought about.
Mayor,
We had talked a little bit with the DOT, and there were some things that they did not want to know that we were gonna do in the center of that roundabout.
Okay.
Because then they would have to meet DOT standards, so once it's turned over to us,
We can do
we
something.
can do what we would like in
Alright.
there, so it's probably best that we plan those outside of the DOT project, plus it's gonna be very expensive to do it with DOT contractors.
Sure, that sounds good. Mayor, good answer.
Alderman Taylor.
Director Alex, on the,
Do we need the roundabout?
on the east side and southwest quarter there, before that, you have the daylilies and the feathered reed grass. Could you tell us how tall that feathered reed grass is?
That feather reed grass is gonna probably get about 36 inches tall, I'm gonna guess, maybe slightly taller. So obviously that's sort of a backdrop with the daylilies in front of it then.
Okay. And will we be able to put benches along this east side of the project?
Up in that green space?
Yes.
Chances, maybe, maybe not. Again, it's relative, quite steep on the river's edge, but the further north we go, I would think that there would be an opportunity somewhere to be able to bump out a pad. But that's something that we can certainly look at.
Well, like right now, right off the sidewalk, we have a bench that's been there since the 1920s, and it's still in pretty good shape. Would we be doing something like that? Have
Okay.
it directly off the sidewalk? With that overlook there, doesn't have to be down on the water's edge or anything. So is that something,
We can certainly look at that, yes. We'll make sure that, grade-wise, that wouldn't be an issue.
okay? Thank you.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Thank you. Alex, is there the possibility in the gray concrete terraces to do that stamping like we did with the, I think we made a major mistake by not doing that all downtown, because that gray just looks so blah. And I know you say something about shoveling or what, but you've done, Third Street is all red brick, and it doesn't seem to be an
Can bloom
issue.
it.
And I think the uniformity with that running through the downtown, it just gives it a little more detail.
Just a comment is, one of the thoughts or ideas here was not to have that a dark gray concrete.
And the reason being is if we do dark gray concrete, then that's an expense that would be borne by the city, that if it was just standard concrete, it might not count against whatever we have set aside for budgeted funds. But I would imagine stamped concrete may end up, falling under that as if it were a dark gray concrete that we would want. So I'm not saying that we can't do that, but we could certainly get an idea what the cost would be.
Just
Are
like
you
the
looking
way-
at a darker concrete and then
Well, just
stamping
that
it?
pattern. I like the differentiation between the sidewalk and the terrace, so it doesn't look like it's just all, we're putting so much concrete down everywhere. And the green space, and then we try and stick a tree in there or a bush somewhere just to soften it, but I think there's other ways of softening
Isn't it?
concrete without, too much expense, I would think. We've got the pattern, I mean, we've got the rubber mold,
Yeah,
so, thank you.
sure.
Is there any further, Mayor?
I guess one other comment that we had discussed with the concrete in that area was if that's going to be used potentially as outdoor seating or dining space, how differentiated do we want that line to be, especially these little sidewalks that cut across it? And do you want it to become a larger area or all these little teeny tiny areas? So it's something that we weren't 100% sure of exactly how to put that together. So you've got a good eye for that. You might want to talk a little bit with Adam on that as well.
Alderman Nichols.
Thank you. Just a couple of things that I observed and have questions about. On the east side, where it said there is a sod terrace, and that happens on the south side too. I'm curious about the decision to go sod there and not continue the daylilies or the grass, especially on the east side.
We can put it in there if there's interest in doing that. Again, I think we originally thought that we would carry that through. And then when we started realizing how wide that terrace really is, so we'd have to probably carry whatever we do on the north end of that through there. And we wanted to make sure that we had some space for snow storage, which obviously in the wintertime, we cover up our daylilies now, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm not sure how that grass would fare, though. That would be one thing we'd have to check on.
Well, and my other question about that grass is, considering that these are, both the grass and the daylilies are plants that spread quickly, at least that's what they're supposed to do when they're not covered in salt every year. I'm concerned about the competition between those in a small area and how I could envision the grass drowning out the daylilies after a while.
More maintenance for us.
It is, and
You know,
maybe one or the other.
And we could certainly take a look at if there is something other than this feather reed grass. This is just obviously something that the consultant from Tool Design, suggested, recommended.
Did they offer a justification or a reasoning behind it?
I did not ask that, no, but I certainly can.
Okay. I'm just curious because it just seems like those two would really compete with each other, and one or the other might be a better option.
Okay.
The utility area that is near the corner of Broad Street, will that be fenced, or is that more like a box structure?
Right now, there is no fence planned. That's not to say that we can't completely fence it off and slat it. Right now, it was looking to just sort of hide it with natural trees, so.
Is there something more creative than a pine tree that could be used?
Ideas?
I don't, I'm not the person to ask for ideas, but I know that
Okay.
we have required more for screening of other
Okay.
people in the city.
There again, this consultant, I would like to think would be able to provide us with some options to consider.
Thank you.
Alderman Tom Grady.
Thank you, Chair. I just, kind of piggybacking off of Alderman Nichols with the salt condition. I know that if you're going to be looking at pines, that the Japanese pines are salt resistant, so they would have, other than an Austrian. And can we replace hackberries with, I mean, I think we're planting so many hackberries everywhere that I would like to see a little more differential.
A little more
in the-
diverse.
Yeah, in the tree selection,
And
especially in the downtown
Yeah,
area.
and again, that's, our intention is just to show you that,
Right.
that we put the trees in here, but,
I'm just kind of making a note,
Yep.
so,
yep.
thank you.
Does anybody have any more discussion, comments, dislikes? You know, Director Alex, does that give you enough to go by for the next council meeting?
Yes,
Okay,
we'll bring something back.
all right. Alderman Taylor.
Could you give us, how that river's edge is gonna, can you give us some more of a diagram on how that's gonna drop off like that? Kind of a side profile? I mean, you know, you can just drop something in our packet, that's.
Yeah, cause I did take a little bit of time today to try and look at that to see if I could had something to show how steep it is,
Yeah.
and it looks like, let me see if I can come up with something that, would give you guys a good picture of what that's gonna look like.
Thanks.
You know.
All right, with no further comments or discussion, we'll move for adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? We have a motion. Is there a second? A second by Alderman Ted Grady. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.